Welcome to Karen's Creative Cards. I am Karen Hashik, and today I am sharing a comparison of 5 different kinds of watercolor powders with lots of sample cards. And this is the card we will make from scratch. To show the differences between the 5 kinds I am comparing today, I have created a rainbow of their color samples and will show each one. All the powders are sprinkled on watercolor paper and then spritzed with water to activate the colors. There are other techniques or products you can use with them, but for this video I'm only showing the basics. I have links in the description to all the cards on my blog I have designed with the watercolor powders and shared there, so be sure to check those out. I found my first kind of watercolor powders back in 2014 and was immediately hooked. I'm not an artist and I cannot paint or draw at all, but I can make cool watercolor backgrounds with these powders. The first kind I bought and created many cards with were Bister Powders, which have a wood grain feel to them and are from the Netherlands. They are sold in the United States at I Break for Stamps and are very reasonably priced. Only $1.85 for a small tub, or 3 grams, that will go a long way. There are only 7 colors available of the Bister powders, but if you like earthy tones, you will like them. They come in these small containers. The best way to use them is to pick up a little of the powder and sprinkle it on watercolor paper, and then you spritz with water and the beautiful colors come to life. As you can see, there's wood grain in there and different colors that appear. One of the things that you have to have handy when you're using these watercolor powders is lots of paper towel. Like I said, I created a rainbow of each one of the colors to show you what that looks like. And this is the Bister powders, and you can see the brown wood tones that are part of that rather rustic look. One of my favorite things to do with the Bister powders is to use their black powder only and create like a stormy sky look. This was created with black Bisters only, but look at the tones of brown and blue that are mixed in there, and it's a really cool spooky sky look. After the piece is dry, I use an open mask, an open circle mask, and I pull out some of the color with an old water brush filled with bleach. So you get a very realistic looking moon, much better than if you had just masked it from the start and then you had a plain white moon. This one looks much more realistic. I've cut out some die cuts here, some of my favorite Halloween die cuts. And I didn't put the card together because I wanted to show you that background. But if you were to put a couple bats in there, and then Spooky from Tonic Studios, and put it on a card base, you would have a very cool looking Halloween card made only with the black Bisters. The second kind of watercolor that I'm going to share with you are the Magenta Nuance watercolors. Magenta Nuance is a water-soluble powdered dye, and each of the 30 colors are available in small plastic jars that contain 5 grams of powder. They are beautiful colors and can be used brightly, as is shown on the rainbow that I created here, or more subtly or nuanced, as in their name. I have included links to all the projects I've done on my blog with this and all the watercolor powders. you use this by sprinkling it through the hole that you've created with that thumb tack in the top. And then again, spritzing with water to release that beautiful color. And see how it's kind of more pastel-y and lighter than many of the other colors, but just gorgeous. My sample card uses fall colors of Magenta Nuance along with the addition of some sparkle from Nouveau Silver embossing powder, which I'll show you how to do when I make this my sample card later. But you can see I've added some embossing powder in with the colors. I was also reminded of how much I love Clearview's transparency pictures on my cards when I made the first sample card, and found a lovely fall one to place under the negative space of a leaf cut out with a Fun Stamper's Journey leaf die. One fun way to use watercolor powder pieces is to die cut or punch them out, as I did for this card, using Tim Holtz's Tattered Leaves dies and a maple leaf punch from the Paper Studio. The Blessed is a die cut from Simon Says Stamp. One of the favorite of the watercolors I own is Magicals from Lindy's Stamp Gang, because they have a beautiful sparkle built right into them. Lindy's Stamp Gang has a wide range of over 90 colors, which include the shimmery magicals like I am showing, and the flat magicals which do not have mica for shimmer. I like the ones that do have the sparkle. Well, oops! Okay, that was really good, right? Anyway, you take a water brush and you once again sprinkle them on, and then you spritz it with water, and the look that you get has sparkles in it, and it even has a few extra colors in there, which is always fascinating to me. Then I have to pull out a Swiffer brush and clean that up, which is a shame, but those things happen. This is the rainbow sheet that I made with the magicals, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but in those rainbow colors there is a sparkle of gold and a shimmer that is quite lovely. I was in the mood for fall colors when creating these samples, so once again I picked the reds and oranges and yellows to make this background. Another fun thing to do with these watercolor powder backgrounds is to emboss, and I used a Sizzix embossing folder called Bohemian Lace to give this sparkly background some great texture. Then I simply added the beautiful Thinking of You die from Quiet Fire Designs for a clean and simple but lovely card. The easiest of the watercolor powders to find in the United States is Ken Oliver's Color Burst watercolor powders, and he now has 30 colors to choose from. They have this unique nozzle and are bright and colorful, as you can see from my rainbow example. You open the nozzle and then you either tap it or push on it to get some of the color out. And these are the brightest, I think, of all of them, so you don't need much at all. And then see, you spritz it with water to get that brilliant color. Once again, I was in the mood for fall colors, and this time I die cut 2D Designs Maple Vine Frame and Thankful from Penny Black from a colorful piece I had made with the fall colors of Color Burst. There is also some Nouveau sparkly silver embossing powder added when drying the color, before drying the Color Burst on this card. If you look, you can see the colors of the Color Burst and then silver sparkles on this card. I saved my favorite for the last. If I had to pick a favorite of the watercolor powders I own, and I love them all, but if I were forced, I would pick Brusho Crystal Colours. There are 32 beautiful colors, and I like how they come out with great control when a hole is punched in the top with a sharp tool, as you can see here. When I first received these, I watched videos. Some people were opening them up and having trouble doing that, but I just punched a hole in the top of all my colors, like was shown in that video, and I really liked the control. Brushos are manufactured in the United Kingdom by Colorcraft. I find myself reaching for my favorite colors of Brusho quite often, as you can see from the samples I will be showing. So here's your rainbow of all those bright, beautiful colors. If you're wondering what this and this is, when I create a card, and I'll show you when I do, I always tape it down. I always cut it a bigger piece than what I need first of the watercolor paper, and then I tape it down with blue painter's tape on 2 or maybe 4 sizes, and that helps with the warping. So these were just samples, of course, but I'll cut them down and I can die cut out of them or create cards out of all these watercolor, these rainbow samples I've made. For the Brushos, you simply tap on the bottom. I like the control that I get. I don't get too much or not enough. This is one of my favorite colors. It's called Ostwald Blue. Not sure what Ostwald means. I should have looked it up. But look at that combination of purple and blues that you get together in that one color. I just think that's so cool. And because this is my favorite, I'm going to clean that up with a baby wipe and some paper towel. So I have a relatively clean surface here to show you the samples. Because these are my favorites, I have quite a few samples to show you using Brushos. This is another one of my fall color ones, and I used a leaf and a leaf stamp and a leaf die from Stampendous, and then also cut out the Best Wishes from Tonic Studio to make this fall card. This is one using the same colors that I'm going to demonstrate today, and I die cut the top and the bottom, added a saying there and some pretty punched out butterflies, and then continued the happy birthday and even this piece on the inside. This is one I had blogged a short while back. Again, it was starting with a rainbow of Brushos, and then I added a Tim Holtz die, cover die on top, and a Thinking of You on vellum. And this is one, and again, there'll be links in the description to all of these cards. This is another one that I had made earlier when I was the guest designer at Quiet Fire Designs, and it shows all the beautiful colors of the Brushos with the silver embossing powder in there, and using vellum and then some glitter tape in there, and I continued that beautiful color on the inside. Today we're going to be making this card. We need some gold embossing powder that I put in a coffee filter, and I use Nouveau embossing powder, which looks like this. We're going to be using a butterfly die from Penny Black and a beautiful die from, okay, it is from Julie Ebersol for Ellen Hudson. I always use watercolor paper, and I normally use Strathmore when I'm working with these powders. As I had said, I tape the watercolor paper down on a craft mat. I always cut a piece bigger than what I really want to use. Today I am using Brusho colors of purple, turquoise, orange, and Ostwald blue. I sprinkle on the powders. You don't need a lot. Just by tapping the bottom. Then you get some paper towel ready. And spritz it with water. And just watch the magic happen. Isn't that gorgeous? Now you could leave it just like that for a really, fun background. But I like to not have all those sprinkles of color. I like to have it a little more mixed. So I go back and kind of spread them around a little bit with the water. Now that's a personal choice. I don't like there to be any white left. And I like there to be a mix of the colors. Once you've done that, you're going to have quite a bit of excess water, especially around the edges, and I just take a paper towel and start soaking that up. And basically you're just going to soak up the excess water around the edge so that this dries a little bit quicker. Or you can leave that all sit and just move it aside. It's like, again, it's totally optional. But I like to soak up some of the excess, and usually because I've cut a piece bigger than what I'm using, I don't need those outside edges. Now you could stop and let the piece dry on its own, or you could help it dry with a heat gun. But I've discovered recently that adding sprinkles of embossing powder leaves a nice touch of glittery color that I just love. So I just take some sprinkles. In this case it's a gold matte embossing powder from Nuvo. And just sprinkle it wherever we like it. Now you would heat these with a heat gun to melt them. The embossing powder, and of course the color as well. Now I'm not going to do that. It takes a long time. It takes twice as long maybe as what it would normally take to melt embossing powder because it's sitting in wet. So first you kind of dry it, and then so you watch it as it dries, and then you come back again, and then you'll see that it is melted. And in doing so, you will see that it has that textured melted look when after you've heated them. I have prepared this card front, and I have die cut the butterfly opening with a die from Penny Black, and also die cut Beautiful from Julie Ebersol for Ellen Hudson. I have glued that sentiment onto die cut black fun foam, beautiful, to raise it so that it stands out when placed back in the card. I am using a navy black card base, 8.5 by 5.5, folded for a top folding A2 card. I have attached a 5 by 3 3/4 white piece in the cardstock to the inside, and I've attached the beautiful butterfly that we cut out from the front because we don't want to waste any of that beauty. I have been a big fan of Clearview's transparency pictures from the marketplace in Sainer, Wisconsin for a long time, but I've not used them for a while. Here are some sample sheets I own. I cut out one of these from the Sunset page to use on this card, but here's some other ones that show you the variety that they have of the marketplace Clearview's sheets. I taped the picture onto a piece of white card front, and then I attach it to the back of the card front with regular tape. You take a look at it to see you like where it is. And then tape it onto the back. And then we're going to attach this to the navy blue card base. The beautiful is going to go back in the opening that we created, and I'm going to use glue to do that. This is my favorite Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive liquid glue. By using a liquid glue, you can move it around a little bit and get it exactly where you want it. So once again, we're doing that technique where the background continues from the back, or the background, through a word that we've attached back in. I saved the pieces that I cut out from this background, and I am going to reattach them inside the larger openings so that you don't see as much of the navy blue there. These are my tweezers. Press that down. Then I'm going to put the part of the bee back in too. What do you think? I'm going to try to put the E piece back in too, but those tiny ones are really hard to work with. But I'm going to try. push it down and hold it in place. I guess I'll try to do the Y too. These little tiny ones are really kind of hard to do, and sometimes you just have to decide to heck with it, and if there's a little navy showing, it's okay. Oops. I think I'll leave it as is. In the first sample that I made, I had white behind the beautiful, and these pieces kind of moved, and so I didn't really like the look. So on this one I went with navy behind that, and it's not quite so obvious. Our beautiful Brusho card is done. I hope you enjoyed my sample cards and the comparison of the watercolor powders I own. Please share with me in the comments if you own any of these watercolor powders and which is your favorite kind. If you don't own any, are you thinking of getting any after watching this video? If you are a subscriber and leave a comment before October 1st, you will qualify for a chance at the grand opening grand prize of dies and stamps valued at almost $200. Please stop back next Monday and every Monday as I continue to share my favorite techniques, products, and fun folds, and thanks for helping me share the joy of creativity.